Lucrezia Borgia, born on April 18, 1480 in the town of Subiaco near Rome, was the illegitimate daughter of Rodrigo Borgia, a Spanish cardinal who would later ascend to the papacy as Alexander VI, and his longtime mistress, Vanozza de Catanai, a Roman noblewoman of good standing. She grew up surrounded by the opulence, intrigue, and corruption of Renaissance Rome, where her family quickly rose to prominence thanks to her father's ambition and her brother Cesare's ruthless pursuit of power. From her earliest years, Lucrezia was destined to be a political instrument in the hands of her family, used to forge alliances with powerful dynasties across the Italian peninsula. She was given an education considered refined for a woman of her time. She studied Latin, Italian, and Catalan, learned music, poetry, and dancing, and acquired the manners and elegance that would later make her admired at the courts where she lived. Her marital history reflects the shifting fortunes of the Borgias. She was initially betrothed at a very young age to a Spanish nobleman, but that arrangement was abandoned when Rodrigo's plans changed. In 1493, she was married to Giovanni Sforza, Lord of Pesaro, in order to cement an alliance with the powerful Sforza family of Milan. This marriage, however, was short-lived, as Giovanni became politically useless once the Borgias sought closer ties with Naples and France. Under pressure from her father, the marriage was annulled in 1497 on the grounds of Giovanni's alleged impotence, though this claim was most likely fabricated. During this period, scandalous rumors began to circulate in Rome, spread by political enemies of the Borgias, suggesting incestuous relations between Lucrezia and her father or her brother Cesare. While these stories were almost certainly propaganda, they would cling to her reputation for centuries, painting her as a femme fatale and poisoner. Her second marriage was to Alfonso de Aragon, the illegitimate son of the King of Naples. This union briefly gave her personal happiness, and she bore him a son named Rodrigo. However, the political climate again turned dangerous as Cesare sought closer ties with France and came to see Alfonso as an obstacle. In 1500, Alfonso was brutally murdered in Rome, most likely at Cesare's orders, and Lucrezia, devastated, withdrew temporarily from public life. Around this same period, she was entrusted with the administration of the Vatican when her father and brother were absent, showing her ability in diplomacy and governance, though these achievements were overshadowed by the dramatic and violent events of her family. In 1502, she entered her most significant marriage to Alfonso d'Este, heir to the Duchy of Ferrara. Unlike her earlier unions, this marriage allowed her a chance to step outside the direct manipulation of her father and brother and build a more independent role. Though initially met with suspicion and hostility by the Este family, who feared her infamous reputation, Lucrezia gradually won their respect through her dignity, charm, and intelligence. As Duchess of Ferrara, she became a respected patron of the arts and culture, fostering the development of one of the most brilliant Renaissance courts in Italy. She corresponded with important humanists such as Pietro Bembo, who was said to have been infatuated with her, and she protected poets, musicians, and painters. Under her influence, Ferrara became a vibrant cultural hub, and her court attracted intellectuals from across Europe. Despite her success in Ferrara, her personal life was marked by hardship. She bore numerous children, strengthening the Este dynasty, but several of them died in infancy, and she endured great grief as a mother. She also faced the strain of political responsibilities, acting as regent in Ferrara during her husband's absences and skillfully handling matters of governance, diplomacy, and court life. Over time, her image shifted from that of a pawn and scandalous figure in Rome to that of a noble duchess embodying grace and authority. Her final years were overshadowed by declining health. In June 1919, after giving birth to her last child, she fell gravely ill and died at the age of 39. Her death deeply affected the people of Ferrara, where she was mourned as a virtuous and respected duchess, a far cry from the sinister legends that had once surrounded her. Over the centuries, however, her name was entwined with dark myths, many originating from hostile propaganda against the Borgias, projecting her as a scheming poisoner and seductress. Modern scholarship has worked to separate fact from fiction, emphasizing that she was more victim than villain in the turbulent world of Renaissance politics, a woman of intelligence, refinement, and resilience, who managed to survive within one of the most ruthless families of her time, and who ultimately transformed herself from a political pawn into a respected sovereign consort and cultural patron.